Hi. You come up here. Come on up. Come on. This should just be the vlog. Just me and Leia. Just gotta leave like this. Hi guys, welcome to the vlog. Today is day 13, Vlogmas day 13, and today I'm gonna film a little Q&A based upon the questions that I've gotten on my Snapchat and on my IG, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's get started. Hey guys, for today's vlog on my YouTube channel, I am gonna do a Snapchat Q&A/IG story Q&A. So I'm just gonna pick 10 or so of the questions to go through because I got a lot of questions, but I don't wanna make this video super long and I'm already so long-winded and I'd rather only have to edit like 10 minutes of footage instead of doing like, you know, a half an hour and split it into two different things. So I'm just gonna pick like 10 of the questions that I think are really cool or things that I maybe haven't answered as much before, and we'll get started. Okay, so the first question is from Sophie Wan Kenobi, and they ask, what made you want to pursue English and literature? From a very young age, I was reading. I started reading when I was 3.5. I read so early that my mom got worried about my brother, who upon entering kindergarten had still not learned to read yet. And the kindergarten teacher had to explain to her, you know, Mrs. Russ, it's okay, they're not supposed to be able to fully read books yet, they're only in kindergarten. My parents read to me from a very young age. I picked it right up. My favorite book when I was 2 years old was the dictionary. I was in the library all the time. I developed such an affinity for books, particularly for the Harry Potter series when I was growing up, but I read everything that I could possibly get my hands on. Because my parents also had a huge amount of literature in the house, there were bookcases that were full of different texts. I think that definitely inspired me to want to pursue more knowledge within the literary sphere. I always felt like I just got books, that I got the symbolism, that I wanted to know more about the author, that I really found myself reflected in the characters and vice versa. So pursuing literature for me was something that was always sort of there. I loved to write from a very young age. When I was in 5th grade, I used to write full-length stories, and my parents knew that that was something I was super passionate about, so they always fed that addiction to literature and to writing in general with more books, with more pencils and pens and paper so that I could continue to pursue that passion. When I got into high school, I started looking for things that I wanted to pursue in college, and I originally thought that I would be a lawyer. Entering college, I was actually a political science major, and then I changed my major to English when I got to orientation. You said in one of your IG posts that you and your mom had learned to communicate. What helped you both understand each other better? My mom and I didn't really get along very well when I was growing up. We have just extremely different personalities. She is a feeler and she wants to work through situations by feeling through them. So her environment depends upon her feeling out kind of situations, whereas I just kind of run full force into things. I make pragmatic decisions. I don't want to feel about it. I just want to think about it and make a decision. So that's caused us to butt heads a lot of our lives. We also just have very different fundamental ideas about social issues, about politics, about religion. And so because those things are so essential to her life and because they're not really to mine, in particular religion, I think that that's caused us to kind of struggle here and there. As I mentioned a couple vlogs ago, I've also struggled a lot of my life with being self-absorbed and being selfish. Not necessarily in a vain way, but sort of just in only thinking about myself and my needs. And that's kind of caused me to run into trouble with her. My mom's most dominant feature is the fact that she just gives so much of herself to other people. She's very selfless. But I think what started to cause us to get along better, at least, was having open and honest conversations about things that were hard to talk about. A couple of years ago when we were in Arizona, I remember us sitting out on the porch and us sort of crying together and talking about the ways in which we had felt hurt. And for a long time, I think that I was the only one who could see my own hurt. It was difficult for me to see the ways in which the things that I had said and the actions that I had taken had hurt my mom. I think I got to the point somewhere in our relationship where we really weren't doing a lot of contact, and I sort of felt numb to our relationship, and she knows this, so me talking about this right now is not like a shock or anything. where I didn't know if we could really restore or repair our relationship. I'm really thankful that we did, and that was as a result, I think, of one Mother's Day a couple years ago, me sending her this card and me writing out my feelings and really feeling through those things instead of just thinking and being pragmatic, by expressing my feelings to her and trying to understand with empathy her feelings. I think that really impressed upon her that I was growing up, that I was becoming more mature, and that she could maybe open up herself to me as well. I think because I've also been very involved in trying to understand the world around me in a much more critical mindset, because I've become a better critical thinker, I've also become a better critical thinker about my relationship with my mother. And so I think that's had a huge impact as well. Anthony Terracone, who is my very first kiss in kindergarten. I grabbed him in the cubbies in kindergarten and I kissed the back of his neck. He said, "Oh, talk about NJ." Well, a lot of people probably know this already, but maybe some of you don't. I'm actually originally from New Jersey. I grew up in South Jersey outside Philly near Clementon Lake Park. My family is from Somerdale and Stratford and Cherry Hill and Haddonfield. And my family all still lives there today. Everyone, my grandparents, my aunts, uncles, cousins, it's just my family out here. So I was born and raised there, and I moved to California when I was 10 and a half in March of 2001. Very soon after that, I lost my cousin. He passed away in June of that year, so we went back, and then that September was 9/11. So I remember that year just being super, super heavy, that I had to move completely across the country in 5th grade, right at the end of 5th grade. Then I lost my cousin, and then 9/11 happened. So my move to California was kind of a difficult one, right? We're in a brand new environment, brand new friends, lots of stuff is happening around us, both in my family and nationally. In terms of New Jersey, I still love Jersey. I love the food there, and I love that my family's there, but I am definitely a California girl. I've obviously spent over half of my life here in California now, so I don't think that I could ever leave California, at least for an extended period of time. I know that I want to grow old in California. There's a lot of questions here. Where's your hat from? This is from Love Your Melon. What is my favorite sex position? Well, I think, okay. So I think that your favorite sex position, it depends upon the person that you're having sex with. So I think that my favorite sex position in other relationships are not my favorite sex positions with Kyle. But if I had to say, probably there's like a penis and it's in me, like that's good for, no, I'm just kidding. Probably say my favorite is actually something that I don't know the name of, but it's me kind of being sideways and like my legs over his shoulders, not either down on my back or down on my chest, but actually me being sideways, like turned sideways. That's probably my favorite position. I don't know what that's called, but that's what works for Kyle and I. What is my favorite food? I have 2 favorite foods. The first one is potatoes, and the second one is ice cream. Not necessarily together, but potatoes and ice cream are my favorite foods. Hi Ilyssa, I love your YouTube, all your content. My question is, what made you choose San Jose for your master's? Thank you. So I chose San Jose for my master's because I knew that they had a really heavy teaching focus. I knew that they had a really strong composition department at San Jose State, and that a lot of the people that were here at San Jose State were really heavily involved in freshman composition. I knew that if I was going to get a master's degree and I wasn't going to go on and pursue the PhD, at least yet, that I was going to have a composition background. I was going to have taken classes in pedagogy and in freshman composition so that I could get positions both at the 4-year and especially at the community college. I also wanted to come up to the Bay Area. I wanted to stay within the state, but I didn't want to be in Southern California anymore. I wanted to move, I wanted to go out on my own, I wanted to try something new. So I looked actually at San Francisco State, San Jose State, and I looked at a couple other places up here in the Bay, but I ended up deciding upon San Jose State. The most deciding factor for me was the fact that San Jose State had this opportunity to be a TA, a teaching associate, that while I was in grad school, I could be taking classes and then also teaching freshman composition, at least 1 class per semester. And if I did that, they would give me fee reimbursement. So I was essentially able to go to grad school for free. My tuition was paid for, and I got a small stipend because I got to teach throughout grad school.
What's your favorite bird?
That was Allie Gay. What's my favorite bird? I really like crows. I really like crows. I like parrots. I think that parrots are really gorgeous. Kara asks, for a Q&A, how do you get past cheat meals? I seem to feel like I have to go all out and binge if I'm going to eat unhealthy for a day, when I would really just like to have a little ice cream or pizza and call it good. I've talked about this on a previous vlog, but I just don't have those desires any longer. I think I stripped myself from the idea of fear in food. That was the first thing. And then I kind of stepped away from macros for a while and didn't have these macros to get back to. I think that's a huge thing, that because I no longer have macros to get back to, that I don't feel like I'm cheating on anything, or I don't feel like I'm going off macros and then I've got to get back on track. Every day is the same. I get to eat whatever I want any day that I want. So that's, I think, a portion of that. But I think the main question that's here is, how do I not go overboard? And I, again, addressed this in a previous vlog, but I think one of the major ways is because I know what it feels like when I go overboard. I know what it feels like when I overeat, when I am stuffing my face so full of food that I don't feel well both that day and the day after, and maybe a couple days even after that. So I choose not to do that. I'm not saying that that's easy for everyone. People are going to have to get used to that. You have to spend time. It takes a long time and a lot of effort, and a serious change in mindset. But I think that's my truth, that I no longer go overboard and I only eat enough to enjoy and then put it down, because I know that overeating and overindulging is going to make me feel really bad physically. Marina asks, what inspired you to blog and jumpstart your Instagram account? For instance, what is its purpose to you? That's a really interesting question. So I had an Instagram even before I started any of the fitness stuff, obviously, but I decided to start to document my progress. September 29th, 2012 is when I started, and I initially thought that I would get fit to run a half marathon, and I started to document that, and I kind of did it to keep myself accountable, at least at first. And then over time, I think my account grew because I started to realize after about 3 months and losing 20 pounds, hey, like, maybe I could do something more than this. And that's when I got into weight training, and I started kind of searching through the hashtags, found like the Fitspo and Fitspiration hashtags, and I just continued to post and started weight training, fell in love with it, kept on posting photos, because at the time there was no video on Instagram of me lifting, and finding other people online that had interests just like mine. Some of those people I still follow today. For me now, it's much more than an accountability thing. I think this is a place where I can express myself, where I can engage with other people who are interested in the things that I'm interested in. Obviously, my account sort of strays a little bit from the maybe typical Fitspiration that we see, because I don't compete, because I don't track macros, some of the things that are more popular in the fitness industry. But yeah, now I think I use it just sort of as a platform to talk about the things that are important to me, whether it's fitness or feminism or anything else. Leah said, a question for your Q&A. In your opinion, how does working out, lifting weights translate into a much greater purpose than what is seen on the surface? I've talked about this with a couple of my friends before, in particular my friend Cynthia Liu. And a couple of years ago, Cynthia Liu said something that's always stuck with me ever since. And she said, if you are a woman and you are doing weight training, more likely than not, you've gone through some shit. The majority of our friends who are into weight training, women at least, who are interested in lifting weights, and especially in lifting heavy weights in the powerlifting community, for example, most of these women have been through some shit. You don't just decide one day to wake up and be sadomasochist and destroy your muscle fibers every day and be in pain. And I mean, you can probably see throughout this video that I keep going like this because I have this nagging pain in my shoulder and I'm going to the chiropractor tomorrow. No one chooses to do that unless if they've probably been through some shit and they are willing to go through some more shit. So muscle fibers tearing every single day, and then watching the fruit of your labor manifest itself in actual muscle growth. I think that for me, much more than just lifting and going through the motions and doing the movements. I mean, anyone can do that, but being connected to my body in that moment when I lift and I have intention, I, imagine that I am curling and I can like feel the full bicep extension, or when I'm deadlifting and I can feel my glutes squeeze at the top. That is such an interesting feeling. I don't know how to explain it to you, but it is something that I am passionate about, and I think that, those of you who are watching that understand what I'm talking about, I'm sure that you can feel that feeling right now as I'm talking about it. Going through the motions is just not enough, but to actually feel that connection with my body, and then, as I said, see the results of that manifest itself in muscle growth, it's amazing to me. So thanks guys for watching today. I hope that this was informative. I hope it was interesting to you, and I will see you in the next vlog. Bye.